Good evening. So my name is Gal Szekely, and just like Lita said, I'm a psychotherapist and I specialize in working with couples. So I actually see many couples almost every day wanting to work on their relationship. And you know, relationship is one of the most satisfying experiences of our lives. Yet, they could also be difficult, right? Yeah. And unfortunately, almost no one learns the tools and the skills that are necessary in order to make long-term relationship work. And in my work with so many couples over the last years, I realized that there's so many couples that really love each other, but at the same time they get stuck in this destructive communication patterns that make them feel really lonely and misunderstood. And sometimes even miserable in their relationship and thinking like, is this going to work? Are we really right for each other? And in my work with couples, I realized that once the couples really know how to make their long-term relationship work, what are the tools and the insight and the ways to do that, they're able to move from conflict to connection really quickly. A lot of the time it happens in my office that people come in and they say, I don't know if we're going to stay together. And 10 sessions later, they feel like they're most satisfying in their relationship, and they love each other, and they think it's a great relationship. So seeing that time and time again made me want to bring those tools and those skills into the general public. And from that, I created the Couple Center with the vision of really helping couples create better relationships, or in other words, love that lasts. And what I'm going to talk about in this talk today is the 5 steps that I've seen so many couples go through when they come from a place of conflict and move into a place of connection. And we're going to go over them really briefly in the time that we have. And I'm going to talk a little bit about it like a couple as an example for going through the steps. And I'm going to talk about a straight couple, but I just want to say that everything that I'm saying is also true for any LGBT couples at the same time. Okay, so what happens in relationship? Most relationships starts like you see over there. A young couple, really happy, in love, having a lot of hope and excitement about the future. But then over time, things become more complicated. And this is a natural thing. Relationships become more complicated, and that's okay. But what tends to happen if you don't know how to navigate relationship well, one of 2 patterns, destructive patterns, start happening. First pattern, like you see on the left, that you start to have a lot more conflict. In the beginning, it starts small, small things that you don't agree about, but then over time, if you don't know how to resolve this, the conflict becomes bigger and bigger, and you end up, having so much conflict that it starts feeling like disconnected and very distant from each other. So that's one pattern. Another pattern that happens sometimes in a relationship is the opposite one. There's couples that don't really fight. And from the outside, it looks like they have a perfect relationship. But in the inside, they're actually feeling very disconnected. There's a lot of things that can get swept under the rug and not spoken. Then eventually, they just feel disconnected and feel lonely in their relationship. And a lot of the time, the sex life also in this type of couples really died out. So if we take a couple, for example, let's call them Michael and Sarah. Okay, so Michael and Sarah comes to counseling. And usually, the first time that they come, it sounds something like this. Sarah is saying, he never talks to me. I try to talk to him, and he doesn't really respond. It's like he doesn't know what to say. And he just goes away and, spends so much time on his computer and doesn't spend time with me or with the kids. And there's just it seems like there's nobody there. I'm completely alone there. And Michael says something like, she complains so much. Nothing that I do is okay. The moment I come into the house, something I'm already doing wrong, and I just can't take it anymore. So of course I go away. But then she complains about me going away. I just don't know what to do about it. So this couple is kind of stuck in what I call, it's all your fault stage. Okay? They're both very clear about what the other person is doing wrong. And that's the first step a lot of the time couples come into counseling. And the first step into getting out of that state and all of those destructive communication patterns is to recognize your cycle. So as I said, everybody are very expert, like they're a master on like what their partner is doing wrong. And they can give a whole different lecture on that. But most people don't recognize how they play into that dance. So relationship is actually an interaction. What that means is that if I do something that is positive towards my partner, then usually she feels cared for or loved, and then she responds in a way that is positive. And then I feel cared for and loved, and then I respond in a way that is positive, and then she responds in the same way, and then I respond in the same way, and we're in a cycle of positive interactions. And we end up feeling a lot closer and a lot more connected. However, the same thing is also true for the negative side. So if I do something that upsets or hurts my partner, then she gets upset and she responds in a way that is negative, and then I get hurt and I respond in a way that is negative, and vice versa. So then we get stuck in this cycle in which negativity keeps reinforcing itself. And over time, it takes less and less to actually start the same cycle. Sometimes, I don't know if you've seen this in your relationship or in other relationships, it's like, it's enough to just have a certain look, or a word, or a phrase, and you're already thinking, okay, here we go again. And you're already in that cycle. So, if we go back to our favorite couple, Michael and Sarah, when they go through the first stage of counseling, what they realize is that instead of like, it's your fault, they realize, oh, we get stuck in this cycle, or in a certain type of dance. So Sarah, for example, realizes, oh, you know, when I get upset about something, and I complain towards him, or I kind of in some way get intense, and my tone of voice goes up, Michael actually withdraws, because he feels inside, nothing that I can do will actually help the situation. I have no idea what to do. I feel helpless here. So then he withdraws and doesn't respond or doesn't know what the right way to respond. However, when he withdraws, Sarah starts to feel like she's more alone and there's no one to talk to and no one really cares about her. So then she gets more upset, and when she gets more upset, he withdraws more. So the more he withdraws, the more she gets upset. The more she gets upset, the more he withdraws. So after the first stage, the couples realize, oh, we're kind of in this together. And they're ready for the next step. In the next step, discovery or triggers, the couple start realizing what is it that actually causing the cycle. So what's underneath the surface that makes the cycle go and get them stuck in it. And at this point, we're starting to realize that when our partner does something or says something to us, it's not just about what they say. It's not really just their fault. We interpret that in a certain way. So there's certain filters or certain ways in which we understand what they do. Whatever it is that they do, even if it's the most awful thing, we interpret that, and based on this interpretation, we react. And then there's certain things that can slide by and we're fine with, and there's no problem. But there's certain things that we're really sensitive about. And those things usually come from our past, from our history in relationships, and sometimes from our family history. And those things would get us really emotional and really upset. And those are the things that get us into trouble. And those are things like, I'm sensitive around if you don't care about me, or if you don't respect me, or if you criticize about, if you criticize me or what I do, or if I feel like I'm not good enough. So all of those are sensitive spots that each one of us has, and so that's why we react so strongly and we get stuck in the cycle. So at this point, Michael and Sarah, when they're in this stage, what happens is they start realizing, Sarah, for example, realizes, oh, when he turns away and walks away from me in the middle of a conversation, I feel really abandoned. I feel like I'm alone, like there's no partner, and he doesn't really care about me. And that's why I get so upset. And Michael realizes, oh, when she complains about all these things, I kind of feel overwhelmed, like I don't know how to respond. It's like I'm not a match for her in communication. And so I withdraw because there's nothing else I know how to do besides that. So at this point, the couple realizes what's the deeper causes and roots of the cycle and able to look at them rather than in the surface. I say sometimes that conflict is like an iceberg. Whatever it is that we're talking about is usually just on the surface. What's underneath that are those feelings and needs that I was just speaking about. And at this point, the couple are ready to move to the next stage. In the next stage, this is where a lot of transformation happens. They're starting to change the cycle, to change that dance. At this point, the couple is already recognizing, oh, what really gets me upset is this or that. And that's why I react And they start to take more responsibility, knowing that when I react this way, my partner also gets upset. So they're getting both sides of the equation, and they're starting to take more responsibility, and they're learning to express more of their real feelings and needs. It doesn't mean that they don't get stuck in the same cycle and the same argument, but they know how to get out of it. They realize afterwards, okay, we got stuck again. This is the same thing, the same dance that we know how to do. I'm sorry about that, let's change that. So at this point, it looks like something like Sarah is able to tell Michael, to tell him like, okay, you know, when you turn away from me, I just really feel alone. And I really want you, I really need you in the relationship, and I realize that I complain about it, you actually withdraw. So I don't want to do that anymore. I want to really change that. But I still want you to be closer. And Michael is saying something like, you know, when you come to me with all these things, I just don't know how to respond, so I move back. But I realize that that's really impacting you, and that's causing you to really feel alone, and I don't want to do that anymore. That's not my intention. So I'm going to really try to work on that. Okay. Next step, this is where we really move from working on the negativity to really building the positivity. Okay, so we kind of learn how to de-escalate whatever conflict is there between the couple and know what's really underneath that. And now the couple are really starting to work together as a team. They realize we have the same goal. So this is not about it's your issue or it's my issue. We're in this together. And whatever is your issue, it becomes our issue. So at this point, they really learn what the sensitive spot for each other and how to support each other around this. I tend to say that in this stage, they're kind of learning the owner's manual of their partner. You know, most partners don't come with an owner's manual saying, like, if you do this, that's great. If you do that, that's not so good. So at this point, couples really know how to do that, and they know how to ask for support more, and they know how to be more vulnerable and to say, okay, this is difficult for me, I'm working on this, and I need your support around that. This is when relationship become really the vehicle for personal growth. So it becomes a place in which it feels a lot more safe and a lot more comfortable, and we can really grow more as individuals. So if you look at Michael and Sarah at this point, let's say a normal interaction between them is Sarah's already at the house, she came earlier from work, and Michael is there, and she's upset because the kids are stressing her out, and he comes into the door, and he wants to tell her about his day, but she's already, very stressed out, and she immediately asks him to do something, and he gets upset. But at this point now, Michael and Sarah know how to stop that cycle and just say, you know what, I just wanted to share something with you about my day. And I know that you're stressed, so I'm going to help you in a moment. But I just wanted to talk to you about that, and I really appreciate that you'll be available for a moment. Or Sarah can say to him, I really need your support there. So I know you need your space. I know you need to take time, but right now I really need your support, so please help me with the kids. And after that, we can sit down and talk. So the whole conversation from this place is a lot more in place of respect and from a place of really sharing what is it, the support that I need. And then, final step, I call it invest in love. So now we de-escalated whatever it is that creates conflict. We learn what's really important for each one of the partners. And we have started to work together as a team and sharing the real needs and the real feelings that are underneath the surface. At this point, the couple really creates love that is intimate, that is close, that is passionate. This is a place in which I call it like you're investing in your emotional bank account. Like any investment in relationship is the same. And some of the tools to really invest is, for example, showing appreciation. As I said, most of us are really good at showing what the other person is doing wrong. Not all of us are really good at saying like what they're doing great, and what we really appreciate about them. Another part about it is learning what makes your partner feel most loved. So we always think that what makes us feel most loved is what makes our partner feel loved. But that's not true. Okay, so we're learning really the tools of how to do that. And this is the point at which we can talk about sex and really make it a fun and playful experience, because there's a strong foundation for the couple. So at this point, Michael and Sarah are saying something like, I feel so loved that you care about me to kind of work on this thing of like really engaging me and being a partner. That's Sarah. And then Michael says, like, I know you're passionate about things, and I really appreciate that, and I can really learn about all of those things, and I really appreciate you as a mom and as a partner. And so relationship really becomes different at this point. So we went through the 5 steps. of making relationship from conflict to connection. And just to summarize, I was thinking if there's one thing that I want you guys to take out of this talk tonight, if you forget everything, which I think usually everybody does, like me also, is just take that sentence that you see on the slide right now. So make your relationship more important than the issue. That means we all get stuck in like, when we get hurt or upset, of like the issue seems really important, we have to be right. But actually, the relationship is more important. So if I feel close to my partner, if I feel connected to them, if I help them be in a place of not distress, that's way more important than the issue. Okay? So thank you a lot for listening, and you're welcome to contact me.